What up? Today I'm going to go over the process that I took to throw together this butcher block tabletop. Fair warning, I did forget to record a couple times, so I will be talking you through some of those missed clips along the way. Also, I did not build the legs, it was only the tabletop. The legs I already had. I started by taking my planer to the edge of the board, knowing that it would eventually be the face of the tabletop. Next, I made my marks and then using the straightest 2x4x10 I could find, lined it up on those marks. Because I didn't have a table saw or a track saw at the time, this was the best I could work with to get a straight, even board every time. You'll notice that along the way, I was labeling each board, and that was just so I did not put two boards that I cut from each other right by each other. After we had all those cut, it was time to take the planer to the sides that I knew I'd be gluing together, just so that they were as flat as possible. After I got each one of them planed, I applied glue and then spread it around with my finger. After getting the board set where I want it to be and as flat as possible, I then took clamps and clamped it down all the way down the board. The clamps were only temporary. I used them to hold the board in place while I pre-drilled and screwed the boards together. I did this because there were some 36 odd pieces and I did not want to wait in between each individual board. I could have possibly put them all together at once and done it at one time, but I did not have enough clamps that were long enough to hold the board together. After getting the two sides completed, I did use some dowel rods in the middle to help connect them, and actually used some ratchet straps to clamp them together. After I got the two sides together, I did a little bit of sanding and then started working on this ugly edge. Because I wasn't going to spend a whole lot of time on the bottom, I knew I couldn't just leave it, so I put a little angle on it, hoping to eventually hide that uneven look. Next, I didn't like the look of the edges, so I took my router and gave them somewhat of a beveled edge. After that and a little bit of belt sanding, I turned the table over and painted the bottom of it black. I then, with some 2x4s, created some supports that ran opposite of the grain of the table. Here's the finished project after a couple evenings of hand sanding. The next step was to put some pre-stain conditioner on the face of the table. After a couple hours of letting that dry, we then continued by staining the table. The next day we continued by putting 3 coats of Helmsman spar urethane on the top of the table. The next day I flipped the table over and put another coat of paint on the bottom and stained the supports. To top it off, I put 1 coat of Helmsman spar urethane on the bottom as well. While that dried, I decided to assemble the legs, which ended up turning into a bigger project in building the tabletop. After the top had dried and I'd got the legs figured out, it was time to put them together.